Hey everyone, I want to introduce you to Starting Block, the best co-working space in Madison. If you work from home or you are new to Madison or you just feel like you don't have a professional community, you should definitely check out Starting Block. Many of you may know Starting Block as Madison's startup hub, but it's a lot more than that. They are constantly hosting networking and professional events for the community, and their co-working membership rates are super competitive. So if you're tired of working from home or you want to build your professional community, check out Starting Block at startingblockmadison.org. That's startingblockmadison.org, located in the East Washington corridor at 821 East Washington. Today on CityCast Madison. It's the Friday News Roundup, and this week I'm joined by CityCast Madison's Rob Thomas and Jade Isiri Ramos. Madison Common Council voted to offer $1.6 million in debt forgiveness to two struggling ice arenas. Governor Tony Evers signed an executive order to create a state office of violence prevention following the Abundant Life Christian School shooting, and Edgewood College will get a new name. Plus, a talented former Badger gets a much-deserved recognition. It's Friday, January 17th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Welcome to the Friday News Roundup, and we're here freezing our buns and toes off around the fire of the hottest news of the week in Madison. Joining me today is our newsletter editor, King, Rob Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. Do we need hot takes just to stay warm?
Yes, we're feeding off of it, my little toesy woesies. And our new producer queen, Jade Isiri Ramos. How goes it?
I'm under my heated blanket of hot news.
Yes, we're like in our blankets. And Jade, with the hot news, you are kicking us off this week.
Yeah, so on Tuesday, Madison City Council approved an agreement to keep Madison's two indoor ice arenas open. Now, listeners might remember that Bianca covered the story right around the holiday break, but we now have a resolution about this issue. For folks who missed that show or need a refresher, basically Madison has two indoor ice arenas, one on the west side and one on the north side. They're both owned and operated by the nonprofit Madison Ice Inc., and that organization bought the rinks in 2004 from the city on a land contract, meaning that they had a loan with the city that they were slowly paying back. However, in 2020, with the pandemic, increasing operating costs, and the need for major facility improvements, Ice Inc. was in a tight spot and they refinanced with the city. Now they're in default, which per the contract means the rinks go back to the city. The city had a couple options. They could close the rinks, they could use or sell the land, or take back the rinks and operate them as city-run facilities. Or this final option, keep them privately run, but reach a new agreement with the rink owners. And that's what the city decided to do this week. So here's what's going to happen. There is a new nonprofit, East Madison Ice Collective, and they're taking over ownership and operation of Hartmeyer Ice Arena. That's the one on the north side. And Madison Ice Inc. will continue to own and operate the Madison Ice Arena on the west side.
Yeah, it's a moment. The city doesn't want them, but the city wants them for us, but not to be like in charge.
Yeah, so they don't want to be in charge of the ice arenas and have to run them day to day. But obviously, there was a lot of talk about what is going to most benefit the city, right? Having these ice arenas, which are the only two Madison-based ice arenas indoors. And as you know, we talked about before the holidays, there's really a lack of outdoor ice opportunities in the winter now also because of warmer winters. So this is something that people either thought we really needed to keep or maybe had some opinions about not keeping.
Yeah, we don't understand right now. Like, it is freezing, absolutely freezing, and the lakes are probably in good condition, but you can't rely on it anymore because of climate change and just the varying weathers. Like, you can't have a dedicated space outside because it's just, we've had major events canceled and that sort of thing.
Right. And we had someone fall through the ice, last week. So
yeah, on Lake Monona. It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw Lake Mendota just announced it was frozen, but it had frozen earlier this winter and then unfrozen basically. So, indoors you can count on a little easier.
Yeah.
That's right. Running hot and cold, if you were. Yeah.
So all of the decisions that were made, all the agreements that were decided this week depend on this 3-year term that's upcoming. Hartmeyer is the one that's going to get new owners. Hartmeyer in particular is in a bad spot. They need about $3 million to address pressing facility improvements. And the city obviously does not want to pay that huge sum. So the new Madison Ice Collective has 3 years to raise about $3 million. And during that time, the Madison Ice Inc. will continue to operate Hartmeyer. And then if, and only if, East Madison Ice Collective raises those $3 million, will the city transfer ownership to the new nonprofit and sell the business for $1. And then as a safe fall during those 3 years, each nonprofit will have to hold a cash reserve of 25% of their typical annual expenses. And the city will also place a deed restriction on both properties so that those properties have to be used for sports and recreation.
It's a pretty sweet deal. I want to share a headline that we didn't end up going with that Rob writes. Rob writes a lot of great stuff that y'all never see. We all do. But he had one, city lets ice arenas skate on defaulted debt. Like, this is a pretty sweet deal for them.
That was a little harsh, maybe, but I couldn't resist the pun,
I don't think it's harsh. I think they absolutely are really looking out for these ice arenas and putting faith in them that they can fundraise $3 million. I believe that they can, but
Yeah, there were a lot of supporters at the city council meeting this week, a lot of skaters who, as Jade said, talked about how important it is to maintain these and have these in the city, which is, obviously a city that prides itself on its winter sports. And it would be weird not to have places to play hockey indoors or.
Yeah, learn to skate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming from our resident Canadian. Sorry, you're an American.
Two things. I'm an American and I'm a terrible ice skater. That's not why I had to leave Canada, but it was,
They pushed you out.
They suggested I be more comfortable. Yes.
I also think it's a large sum of money, but thinking about what it would cost to open arenas in the future, if in, 10 years we're like, hey, the Tenny Lapham never freezes over anymore. We need options for ice arenas. If these two buildings were turned into apartment buildings, the cost to build brand new ice arenas would be much more than the $1.6 million that the city's going to forgive.
Well, long live our ice arenas. We wish y'all the best luck in fundraising. I feel like there's a lot of love there, so I think that y'all can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're wishing you the best. We're going to keep skate on right on to our next story. Before we dive into any more news, though, let's take a quick break.
Will, talk to me.
ABC Tuesday.
They took his daughter. She's coming home alive.
Will Trent, the series critics are calling powerful must-see TV, continues to thrill.
Shouldn't we strategize before we go in there?
If we screw up this case, a cop killer walks free.
With the riveting conclusion to a 2-part season premiere.
Help me.
Get down!
Will Trent, all new Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
All right, we're back with more government action. On Tuesday, Wisconsin's Democratic Governor Tony Evers signed an executive order to create a new statewide Office of Violence Prevention. So this is now about a month out from the tragic, deadly shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School over on Madison's Far East Side, where both a teacher and a student, the shooter herself, were killed and 6 others were injured. So Tuesday, Evers held a press conference on the executive order signing with local and state leaders present, announcing that his administration will direct an initial $10 million from federal pandemic funds to get this office off the ground. So they say that the Office of Violence Prevention will be tasked with fostering partnerships and collaborations on preventing gun violence and violent crime generally between state and local agencies, including law enforcement. Evers said it's going to be, connecting the dots between them, helping them work more effectively in tandem. And the office will be set for distributing grant money to local school districts, law enforcement agencies, nonprofits, and firearm dealers to support prevention. Governor Evers said that this was, quote, the most comprehensive, unquote, gun safety reform he's ever introduced. His office has recommended a number of gun control and public safety measures in the past that the Republican-controlled legislature has rejected. But Evers is urging now, after this ALCS shooting, that it's time to act. And because of the statistics around the status of gun violence in their state. The Wisconsin Department of Justice data shows that violent crimes like homicide, robbery, and assault are down, but the rate of gun deaths in Wisconsin has actually gone up. And while we're at it, according to the National Centers for Disease Control, since 2020, guns were the leading cause of death for children, surpassing car accidents. So...
That's horrible.
Wow.
It's a horrible statistic.
Yeah. The first time I read that, I definitely got tears in my eyes. But yeah, it's at that point, and that trend has continued since 2020. Guns were the leading cause of death for children. So, of course, everyone wants action, right? But also action that works in terms of outlook for this office. Obviously, there's a lot of hope from the Democratic administration with this office. Not everyone is on the same page with that. The $10 million that will fund the office is set to fund it for the next 2 years. But some Republican state leaders are already against this effort, calling it just basically more bureaucracy and money sent in the wrong direction, including Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, who's already said that after the 2 years of federal funding lapses, they will not be supporting it at the state level for continuing to fund the office. This is a quote from Vos, him saying, "I think what we need to do is increase funding for our police and public safety services, not create a whole bunch of touchy-feely bureaucrats wasting time, wasting money." Another Republican state senator, Van Wangard, this is a quote from him, "If Governor Evers is serious about ending violence and crime, he should support law enforcement and give them the tools and resources they need." So action's being called for. This office is being put forward. There are state legislators who don't want to support it in the long run. Obviously, we could dive into gun violence and how it should be approached for the entire show. But just on a surface level, do you guys have any immediate reactions to the creation of this office and the resistance?
Well, first of all, it's not one or the other. You can support law enforcement and support these broader network efforts. And as we know, it's a national-wide problem. It's a statewide problem. It's not the problem of one law enforcement agency or another. So it makes sense to me to approach it from a statewide or nationwide approach. And the fact that, law enforcement agencies can apply for these grants, but so can schools, so can nonprofits. Like, it's a problem that affects everybody. We've learned, the hard way that there's certainly nowhere that's immune to this. It makes sense to approach it on that kind of holistic level.
Yeah, absolutely. This Voss quote that you read, he says, not create a bunch of touchy-feely bureaucrats wasting time, wasting money, which sounds mean-spirited. And also, I understand what he's saying in the way that we need to have action behind conversations and money that's being spent at the state level. And I think what's really upsetting about this quote is that that Voss is going to step in the way from this office being able to do anything substantial.
The thing that strikes me is for sure, we want offices to be more than just an office, but people doing work and having results. But another thing is the idea that the reaction is we need actually this money to be going to law enforcement. And my thought is everything on the police to fix? Police Chief Sean Barnes was there at the press conference on Tuesday as a nod of support alongside Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway and others. And I've certainly heard over the years police departments say, when things go wrong, look, we are the police. We have a job to do, and we're expected to be the catch-all for everything. I think that's why the CARES program has been so successful in Madison.
Exactly.
The CARES program where mental health experts are dispatched on certain calls when it's more appropriate. And look, the Madison Police Department, that horrible day on the shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School, they were there in 3 minutes.
Right.
But the damage was done. There was a gun. So, this office is a call to support law enforcement, of course, and also other agencies, and looking at what are the root causes of gun violence, because they cannot do it alone. That's my take.
I think that's a good take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely not so fun of a story, but an important one for sure. And while we're on the subject of schools, we do have amazing, great schools in Madison, great universities, so appreciate everyone, in the state making effort to try and protect the students and faculty for sure. We actually have an update in our university scene or our college scene right after the break. All right, we're back, and we're going to be happy now.
Yeah, I've got a much brighter story about Edgewood College, which is the Catholic college on Monroe Street, which is going to celebrate its 100th anniversary in 2027. And this college announced this week that it would be changing its name in July after being called Edgewood College for the last 85 years. And the new name is Edgewood University, which is, kind of underwhelming. It's not like a big swing kind of name. But the change is actually important because Edgewood officials say it reflects the breadth of educational opportunities that they offer at Edgewood. When you think of the name colleges, you usually think of undergraduate institutions like Madison College, and a lot of them have like a liberal arts bent, which is sort of how Edgewood College began. It started in 1927 as a 2-year liberal arts college for women. They started offering master's programs in 1986. They now offer doctoral programs. And the officials say we need a name to reflect the fact that we're no longer this college. So it's going to be Edgewood University. Just for a little history, Edgewood started in 1927, as I said, as a small liberal arts college. It was on that 55 acres of land, that gorgeous space that had been donated by former Governor Washburn to the Dominican Sisters of Sinsinawa, and it shares that land with Edgewood High School. And you've noticed that this kind of follows a trend in higher education in Wisconsin with name changes. I mentioned Madison College, which used to be called Madison Area Technical College until 2010. And I didn't realize that the reason they changed the name was that there's also a Milwaukee Area Technical College, and they didn't want any confusion with that. And then in 2023, the University of Wisconsin system rebranded as the Universities of Wisconsin for reasons I really don't understand. That does not flow trippingly off the tongue, but they did that as well. So welcome Edgewood University. The one thing I thought of immediately was this means like a lot of Edgewood College merch is going to go on clearance at the university store. So I went to the website. You can get like a nice flannel shirt with Edgewood College on it for $20 right now. I wonder if people are going to like snap those up as like heirlooms of the old name. So
yeah, keep it in a bag. It's a collectible in 20 years.
There you go. Right. Yeah. All those Edgewood College stands out there who want to tap back in. But I think it makes sense. It's sort of the least name change you can do, but like it makes sense that it reflects what the school is rather than what it was.
Absolutely.
It's funny. It's such a new year, new you, Edgewood.
Right.
All of these, you laid it out. A lot of rebrands. People are like, respect me, understand me, let me be seen.
I'm not a college. I'm a university. Damn it.
Yes. And it does make a lot of sense. Like I've heard of so many people going to Edgewood's graduate program. So, Hey, do you glow up? Step into the light, Edgewood.
I'm curious if this is like a more nationwide trend than we're just really recognizing it because we're such a college town.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that I mentioned these two other examples of these rebrands. I mean, there are colleges that are very very determinedly liberal arts colleges, very proudly that. But a school like Edgewood, which has evolved so much for the last century, it probably doesn't fit them anymore.
Yeah.
When they're trying to attract students.
They need to change their cap and gown.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think they have those on clearance, but I will check. Yeah.
You should.
Soon enough, you'll see a picture of all of us like jump in the air in our Edgewood just because we want to support. We want to shine a light on Edgewood. And, speaking of shining a light, this is my favorite type of kicker for today, which is one about a sport that actually has something to do with kicking. Former Badger football star Monty Ball, one of the greatest running backs of all time, is being inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Go Monty. Go Monty. He is truly incredible. So it's certainly a great recognition and one that's well deserved. Ball set the NCAA record for career touchdowns, 83, and career rushing touchdowns, 77. So, he was drafted into the NFL in the second round back in 2013 to the Denver Broncos, and he played 2 seasons. But yeah, he joins 5 other Badgers in the Hall. Congrats to Monty.
Go Badgers.
Go Badgers. That's great news.
Go Badgers. All right, y'all. Thanks for rounding up the news with me this week. Jade, see you later.
Have a good 3-day weekend.
Oh, heck yeah. And Rob, thanks so much.
Stay warm.
That's all for today. Here on CityCast Madison, I'm Bianca Martin, your host. We're produced by Adam Sage and Jade Isiri Ramos. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor. Don't forget, you can always get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who's got school spirit? As a note, we will be off Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So we'll see you back here Tuesday morning with more news from around the city. Ciao.
I love when you guys bust out the heavy Wisconsin accents.
Go Badgers.
Oh dear.